Yeah, so I'm going to talk really briefly about how we structure meat that is better than it is from animals. So the challenge that we're facing today, we have a growing population. We grow from 8 billion to 10 billion people by 2050. Livestock already uses 76% of agricultural land today. We have a population boom that increases the food need by 56%, especially when developing markets start to eat more meat. So it's very easy to see this doesn't add up. And if we continue like this, we end up with part of the population starving and wrecking the planet. So we believe that we fundamentally need to develop a new technology that is better than animal meat. And that has 4 dimensions for us. One is consumer taste. So we use the same technology, which is basically you feed an animal proteins, you grow it, you slaughter it, and you rip parts of it out and you eat it. So it's extremely inefficient and it hasn't changed in the last 1,000 of years. So how can we get to a technology that is superior than that in taste? Price. So consumers here in Switzerland, it's a pretty simple thing, right? They got money, they can spend it. But if you want to have impact and feed the third world countries, you need to fundamentally change how you produce proteins. You need to consider the environment. So if you want to have a significant impact, and livestock today emits 13% or more of CO2e gases globally. So if you want to fundamentally change this, you need to find a better technology vector that is much more efficient in transforming plant proteins into meat. So you basically need to skip the animal in between. And last but not least, health. Health is a huge topic with antibiotics resistancies increasing in the world due to us feeding antibiotics to animals, so we get better yields. You also have the whole topics of saturated fats, etc., that gives everybody heart attacks. So if we want to stop this, we need to find a new tech stack, and that is our mission. What we basically do is we take proteins that come from plants, we let them assemble themselves or structure it through a structuring process. We create something that is called a scaffold. A scaffold is nothing else than a protein matrix. That structured scaffold, we use biotransformation, be that fungi, fermentation, or whatever. You basically build out a piece of meat through that. What you do is you have growths that resemble the muscle. You create then you create the connection for the fat tissue, and then the fat itself, so that it really feels super juicy. And what we call that is a biostructured meat approach. And on that journey to create the best possible steak ever, we basically spin out products along the way, and I'll tell you quickly about them. Meat is super versatile. Animal meat you can eat as a sausage, you can eat as chicken nuggets, you can eat it as a roast, you can eat it as a chicken breast, you can eat it as ribs, and you can eat it as a steak. And these are our actual products. So these are not the meat products, but these are the products that we produce today. So our process is super versatile. We can adapt it to create any meat structure that you desire, and we can consistently make that structure the perfect bite every time. There is no luck, there is no breeding, no nothing involved. It's the perfect bite every time. And maybe tell you a little bit about the space. Björn picked it up quickly. You saw the first products coming along, which are textured products. You maybe know these burgers that you can now buy in the supermarket. You see fermented products. Basically, you can ferment today to get cheese, tempeh, etc. And then you see cell-based, which is basically an animal cell that you can use as a base protein. And what we're in the business, we're creating the structure. So we are the people who see it called upon themselves to create the perfect structure, that perfect bite, that perfect snap when you bite into meat. What is our traction today? Taste-wise, we score with our first product that we launched, which is a planted chicken, extremely well. We're driving down price. When we launched the first product, the planted chicken, in 2019, we drove down the production price by more than 2x. The environment, we're having a significant impact on the environment, and I'll show you the LCI by product just briefly, and then on the nutritional side. No antibiotics, much more dietary fibers, and no saturated fats. How do the products today look? This is the chicken skewer, a pulled pork, a schnitzel, and the kebab. And you see our progression in terms of CO2 savings. So we started at 74% and we got to 85%. And for us, it is a big challenge that with every product, we do something better. So before we launch a product, we go through it with the LCA, trying to understand what is our impact on the environment. Because we believe we can only do change if you do something for the consumer, which is taste, and you do something for the environment and society. So those two things always have to go hand in hand. And yes, this is most importantly, we're also pretty on the inside. So our technology allows us to shift between sausage and the fillet almost seamlessly. With the sausage, it's all about that juiciness. So if you bite into it, you want that instant release of flavor. With the chicken, it's that fibrosity. If you break it apart, you want to see every little fiber. With the roast, it's going to be soft and tender. With the chicken breast, you want to be able to pull it apart and see that fibrosity. With the ribs, it's all about that juicy release of fibrous texture. And last but not least, the steak is going to be soft and tender. You got to be able to take it apart, almost with a fork and not with a knife. And that's what we're all about. Thank you very much.
Now, 2% is now food tech of the consumption. How much is it in Switzerland, you know? Is it a data?
Yeah, so it's pretty similar. I think you typically with every technology, so you see sort of the early innovators of the consumers, they're willing to try something, right? They're here for the cause, they understand we got to act now, we got to do something, and they're willing to overlook maybe some imperfections and some things that are not there yet. And then
so it's the younger consumers.
Yeah, we don't necessarily see it by age, but it's more, I think, the conviction of like, we need to do something now. But then you want...
So that we don't have time users are perfect customers for you.
Yes, well, I think we're going a bit after the people who have higher standards. So I think then you have the early adopters, which should typically, if you follow, there's a theory called diffusion of technology. If you follow that, then it should be about 13.5% to 15%, which are the early adopters, and those are the people that we target. So we want people that want taste, people want to have fun when they eat.
And it's mostly about accessibility, right? So if you're hungry and drive by McDonald's, you're hungry and you may stop, right? No matter if you want to save the world or not. So we talked earlier about the HelloFresh model, which, I mean, I had Dominic on stage a long time ago when they were very small, I think 200 million, and then they just went so big. And I didn't see it coming. The question is, could you partner with those type of companies? Because if you make it easy for people to eat sustainable, they will eat sustainable, right? So can you intrude yourself into these delivery services and become like a pure play CO2 efficient subscription model?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, we're doing that. I think it's very important that we integrate into the supply chain, so we don't have to reinvent everything, and that's why we're in the market today already. We could be saying, hey, we want to work secretly in a lab for the next 2 to 3 years and create the perfect steak, and then we go to market. But we want to capture the consumer today and understand what they like and what they don't like, and where you need to be with the price point. And so we do integrate with HelloFresh, so we're just doing a trial with them, and trying to get to understand what, for example, players like them need solved with their customer, because ultimately they have also competition, right? And they then want to find a great solution for their customers as well.
Yeah, like a climate-conscious solution always beats anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, their model, right, is they basically say, hey, we ship it to you at home, and then it's actually more efficient than the whole supply chain with supermarkets, wasted products, and all of that. So I think it really fits into their business model.
You like to cook?
Yes, I love to cook.
So you always knew you will do something with food?
I think it was always a desire. It's that passion when consumers love your product. I think that's the biggest gratification you can get if somebody's happy with your product and they eat it and they smile. So that's, I think, worth than a lot, or a lot more worth than a lot of other things.
Well, I know that feeling. I'm also always very excited when my speakers are happy when they met an investor or a customer or a colleague. So you make here in Switzerland the whole production, or you have also production outside Switzerland?
No, we're actually pretty close to here, about 10 minutes from here. We have our pilot
so
production.
Swiss-made food tech.
It's Swiss-made, so we're an ETH spin-off, and we try to be relatively close to the school that we're from, so in terms of attracting talent and all of that.
And international sales, you have it already?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're not just optimizing for the Swiss consumer, but we're in Germany, we're with Edeka, in Austria, we're with
So you're
Spar.
producing in Switzerland for the German market?
Yes.
How is that doing with the taxes and the borders? When you bring it from Germany to Switzerland, it's very difficult usually. When I get presents, I always have to pay.
Yeah, so currently it's, if you feed the proteins to the animal, it's a third of the tax if you feed it to a human. So we're paying 3 times more taxes if we move something across the border than if you feed it to an animal. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So you rather move your production then?
Ultimately, yeah, that's right. That's what's going to happen if basically you can't fix the taxation issue, then you move.
So let me ask one more question. How many meals you currently have in your program? If I want to eat planted every day, when do I eat the same? After 6, 7 days?
I think you can go pretty long. We have a really long recipe library. So one of our investors is Forward Ventures, the guys from the Thermomix, and they love recipes, right? So we have a pretty big recipe database.
And restaurants don't serve the food yet, or do
sure. Yeah, in Switzerland we have over, I think, about 750 restaurants that serve it. Germany is really fast growing as well. We just closed Dean and David. We'll do something with Deutsche Bahn, so there's quite some cool stuff. We have, for example, Tim Raue, who's one of the most famous chefs in Germany that cooks with us. So
also cooks with you. So that's that's good for publicity.
Yeah, it's really cool because he's an actual customer, so it's not paid marketing.
Well, I'm very glad we met. I'm very glad you cooked last night, and can't wait to have more food of planted latest next year at the conference here for sure. And maybe Ibiza, Spain, you don't have yet distribution?
For you, we make that happen.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco.